This meeting is being recorded.
It is. And good afternoon, good evening, and
Good
good
afternoon.
morning if you're in a different time zone, depending where you're at. This is our third day of our special edition virtual education. And it was kind of interesting to see because one of the things that the staff members want to do is make sure that everything that's being taught, if you had a smaller model, you could participate and have some take home value. And I thought, there's only so much we can teach on some of the smaller models. And you know what? I was wrong. So far, 2 days, and had enough information, and they've done an exceptional job at making it cater to everybody. So next time you're talking to one of the staff members that's taught this week, we had Carrie and Andrew and uh, Don and Sean, and today we'll have Joe and Joanie. Just kind of give them a little compliment of it. They've done a phenomenal job, and there's a lot of work to try to plan that so that they don't overlap on some of the things they teach. So I know what's going to be taught today, and
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.
It's going to be another fabulous session today. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to go from Arizona. I feel like I'm at Star Trek. You beam up, you go from somewhere. I can, in an instant, 3, 2, 1, bring it over to Joanie. There she is.
Hi there, Joanie.
Hi there. Welcome to
Hi,
a
Joanie.
wonderful week of virtual education, and I'm glad you're with us. And I think we should start out with some music, don't you?
Yes.
Good. Let's do that. Okay, now.
Yeah, Joanie.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you much. Okay, I'm going to go over to the easy products now. And so you're going to see me disappear for a second, but I'll be right back. Go to the left. Okay. So the topic I'm working on today is, I think, a good one for regardless of which instruments you own. I'm going to mention the SD instruments. I'm going to mention the Lowry instruments. I'm going to mention the LC, the SU, the A models, the E models. It applies to everybody because I won't always say everything, but almost everyone has the lower sounds. And so, bullet wise, I've made some points. And the first thing is, what are they? What's lower sounds mean? So, we're going to talk about what that is for a minute. And then we're going to talk about where are they? And they're in different places depending on your instruments. So, what are they? These are the sounds that will hold the chord. Sometimes people will say, I can't hear the chord, especially with a background. Without a background, this is what a chord sounds like. So you hear that hum? That hum is the chord being held. And we're going to talk about what that does for you. And we can use lower sounds with or without the rhythm style. Some people like to do it without, some people put it on. And then we'll talk about what kind of music you actually use lower sounds for as well. So the first question is, where are they? On a easy 2, they are on the right. And I'm showing you the easy 4 right now. And it is labeled on the easy 2, it's actually labeled left. And the word for it on the easy 4 and up is lower. Okay? And you have choices. The first one is ensemble. That's the hum of string ensembles. Can you hear that? Okay? Then you have next to it a button of more. And the more is any sounds that are in the instrument. I like to call the more button the plunker, because every time you strike a chord, it's going to plunk the chord. Listen. Oops. Hear that? So I don't always prefer to have the more on. I prefer to hear the ensemble holding it. Now, when I go to an SD Discovery 3, the on the left, it is labeled left, and you have 4 different sounds that you can have. You can have an organ sound, that's that drone hum. You can have the ensemble, you can have organ and ensemble, and so on. But it's located on the left-hand side of the instrument. Like I said, on the Easy 4, it's on the right-hand side. So you have to look for what says lower, and we'll get to the other instruments in a minute. The Freedom 3, also SD, is on the left, and it is labeled lower. And that tells you that's the lower sounds that you can select whichever one you really like. On classic Lowry's, or traditional instruments as we call it, it's labeled lower, and you have strings and flutes. Now, flutes are organ sounds, and then you usually have 2 strings. They come by way of tabs. So I'm going to give you a little view here. Can you see that? There we go. So here's my lower tabs. I have 2 tabs for the strings, and I have 5 on this particular instrument, 5 for the flute sounds. They're the organ sounds. So that lower sound, if you want to hear it, that's what you're going to want to use so you can actually hear the chord. Okay. So if you have those products, an SU or an LC, any of those products, you have lower sounds. You may have less. You may have 1 string and 2 flutes. However that works, it'll be tabs. On the SDs and the Easies, it's going to be buttons. And I believe from our key on up, we're talking in arias, it will say lower sounds. That is for the orchestral sounds that you can put on the lower, to do the plunking, as I call it. On the SU and A instruments, it's called lower genius. Same thing, totally same thing. And always on the instruments I just mentioned now, they're all on the left because the left refers to the lower. So I want to pause there for just a moment and see if you have any questions, because this is a topic that we really don't discuss very frequently, and a lot of people didn't even know what it was, let alone where it is or when to use it. So do you have any questions?
How did you turn the volume up? Now it's, I touched it. Now
No questions?
how'd you do the volume?
Okay, then I'm going to go back over to the traditional instruments here to give you some ideas.
Joanie,
Yes.
this is Beverly in Florida. I do
Hi.
have a question about the original instrument. At the very end, you pushed a button, you put both hands up on the upper keyboard. What was that button that you pushed?
Ending number one. And I should have talked about that. I'm so glad, Beverly, that you brought that up, because that was Michael Bublé's background that is imitated specifically to the note. It's called, the rhythm style is called Got Swing. And if you listen to him sing I've Got the World on a String, if you listen to that on YouTube, you will hear that background that I just played for you, beginning, ending, verbatim. It's incredible. I pushed ending number one, and then I chose to play along with the ending, which I often, frequently like to do.
It was very nice.
In between, you were hearing the fill, which is what I was
Yeah, it was great.
using. Well, thank you very much. That's one of my favorite songs, and Michael even made me love it more. Him and the music. That's a joke. He's married. Okay. So the next bullet point I want to talk about is, so what type of music do you use the lower sounds on? That's a very good question. When your chords are going by quickly on, for instance, a Broadway background or a Dixieland background or a march background, you're not going to hear those lower sounds because the backgrounds are moving along. So the type of music we want to use the lower sounds for are
Ballads?
slower songs and songs that have lots of chords, because you want to hear the chords. So when the song is changing a lot of chords, that's a great time to have your lower sounds on. And by default, typically, on most of the styles, the flutes will come on the lower sounds, and maybe sometimes one string as well. I usually turn off the flutes and put on two strings, or just have one flute on. And then I can control the volume with the graphic mixer. So if I want my chord sound to be louder, I can make it louder. And if the background seems a little too loud, I can turn back the Orc Plus, turn up the lower sounds, and then I'll hear my chords real nicely. So slower songs and songs that change a lot of chords, that's when you want to apply your lower sounds. And like I said, in today's world, even with our classic instruments, regardless of which instrument you have, from the Estes and the Easies on up, you're going to have some lower sounds, and that's what you want. That's really important. So used to be, you had to be up in the line a little bit to have lower sounds, but everybody has them now. You just need to know when and how to use them, and then get your preference of what your ear likes to hear the best. So I'm going to give you some examples of that right now and do a couple songs, and I'm going to turn the background down a little bit because I want you to be able to hear the lower sounds. So I'm turning on two strings, and I'm turning on, just flip that a little bit, would you please? I'm turning on two strings and two flutes. I'm turning my upper background on higher, almost to the max, so you'll be able to hear it. And I cut back on the background. So let's see what we can do with this. Oh, hang on. That wasn't right. Where'd I go? There we go. Okay, listen to the chord holding now. I'm just going to play the chord so you can hear it. Okay, could you hear the holding tones that I was getting? Yes? Questions so far? No? Okay. Well, either I've totally lost you or you're totally sharp. I think I'll believe that you're totally sharp. Let's do another one. I'm going to do, let's see, let's find this one. This is,
Joanie,
yes.
could you change one of those lower sounds while you're playing?
Yes. Absolutely.
I was wondering if that would be a good
And
example.
you need to almost. That's an excellent question, because if you change your presets or style setups, as we say, if you change those, sometimes the flutes and strings, the holding sounds will change. Now, if I lock my accompaniment, then it'll stay put. But if I don't and I go to a different number, it's possible that what I had on is going to turn off. And you probably don't want that to happen. So that's a very good thing for you to keep in your mind. Let's do this one now. I have, again, the background is turned down a little bit so you can hear the holding strings. Hear those chords, beautiful. Here's listen to the chords again for the bridge. able to hear them okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Joanie,
Yes.
tell us again how you got the melody to be so dominant. It was beautiful.
Well, the background, the Orc Plus, I turn down. I turn up the lower sounds, but I've turned down the Orc Plus. So the more I do that now on the E instruments, of course, you have a balance button. So you can use the balance button to bring up your right hand. But on these, I turned it down on the orchestration level, and that way I can hear the chords, and that automatically makes my right hand more dominant, which is great.
Yeah, thank you.
So, and again, music not to use 76 trombones, for example. You wouldn't hear your chords being held on that because that's an up and down, moving and grooving right along. Any kind of big band or Dixieland, you're probably not going to use lower sounds as much, unless you want to hear the plunker. And some people like to hear the plunker because when they strike a one finger chord, then they hear that sound of that note and they like that. So that's your option as well. So my next bullet to talk about with this is what's the
Joanie,
difference?
before you go on, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Hi, this is Michael in Baltimore, Maryland. I have a Prestige Plus, and I'm curious how to make the lower instruments sound louder than they are when I push the button. For example, I'm playing something on the top and it's really, really full organ. And then I want to play the trumpet. So I hit the trumpet button, but the trumpet button plays real low and real soft. How do I raise that volume?
Graphic mix.
Where did you put the trumpet?
Well, the trumpet's already on the Prestige Plus as a selection.
I
You have-
understand that, but where is it? Is it
On
in
the lower
Orc one?
keyboard, on the lower
On the lower
keyboard.
split?
Yes, and I want to make it louder.
On the right side. On the right side. On the right side.
You'll have to take more
Sure,
sounds
down.
of those off. And what you can do is you can go into your feature clear button, page 1, the first pane is
Okay.
levels, and make sure that that volume is 100% up.
Okay,
Check that first.
okay.
But if you have a combination of big sound and a lighter sound, you're going to have to take some off.
No, it's usually, I just like I said, just the trumpet on the lower. And I didn't know whether there was something actually like with the equalizer that I had to play with or whatever, but I will check that feature button and go to make sure the balances are up high.
Yeah.
Okay, and if
And
not, I'll let you know.
And if it is, make sure that, I mean, you have it coupled over here
Right.
to the lower right split, correct?
Yes,
Make sure that your orc volume is all the way up.
orc volume. Okay, that,
And
okay.
if you're coupling from the solo, you have to go to the lower right. You got to make sure the solo volume is all the way up as well.
Solo and orc. Okay, I'm writing this down. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Joni,
Yes.
Carolyn Storms, I have the area. You did some changes in the graphic section on the left side.
Correct.
Did you, on the lower, did you go down or up? What?
I raised the lower for my lower sounds.
Okay,
And I lowered the Orc Plus so that the background would be a little softer.
okay, thank you.
And when I do that, I lock it. So
Yeah,
it stays put.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And to lock it, in case someone doesn't know, of course, when I lock the Orc Plus, I'll put it where I want it, and I push the two buttons together, and it will turn amber. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but the color turns amber, and amber indicates that it is locked. So the Orc Plus will not get any louder than where I put it. Same is true with the lower. I can lock the lower, it turns amber, and it will not change.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you.
You're welcome. So what's the difference between...
Hi.
Yes.
Hello, Joanie. It's Sue here from the UK.
Hi,
Hello.
Sue.
Hi. Do you always use the memory button? I don't like using the memory because it gives a droning tone all the while.
That is very true. And My answer is no and yes. There's a lot of times when I turn off the memory because I only want to hear the chord when I play the chord. And when I'm not playing the chord, I don't want to hear that chord. And then there's other types of music where I will leave the memory on, especially in the slower songs, because I do want to hear the chords all the way through. So I'm a believer in taking the memory off, depending on the piece of music you're doing, and only having the chord sound when you actually touch the chord.
I mean,
Good question.
I've come from a keyboard playing background. I still play keyboard, and I'm used to not having that droning sound in the left hand.
That's fine.
So I do take the memory off
That's
and then
good.
lock it and then lock the accompaniment so it doesn't keep coming on all the while.
Right. That's good. Very good.
Okay.
All right. So, what's the difference between lower and lower genius? They're two different things. Or on the E instruments, it's going to be called lower sounds. Lower genius and lower sounds are the same, just different verbiage. But lower, that applies to your tabs or for the lower chord sounds. Okay? Lower genius or lower sounds, that applies to your chords as well, but it applies to putting your orchestral sounds in the lower. For lack of a better word, we'll call it the plunker. So you're really going to hear, if you decide to use an orchestral sound, like, I don't know, a guitar or a trumpet or something, every time you strike the key, you will hear that key. So that's the difference there. They're not the same. Lower is for the holding sounds. Lower genius or lower sounds is for any orchestral sound that you want in addition to your lower tabs or flutes and strings, as we can put it. Does that make sense? And then the last thing I wanted to say something about was golden harp. Golden harp will add to your lower sound with or without rhythm. And that's kind of a interesting thing that not many people do. I'm going to try to do it here. My cameraman went outside, so here I am. I got it now. There we go. So I have the, I'm going to turn everything else off here except for the easy. And right now I have my lower sounds way up. So you're going to hear that on the chord, but you're also going to hear the golden harp. Take a listen. Okay, it's doing a golden harp pattern of virtuoso, but what you're hearing hum is my lower sounds. Now, technically, you wouldn't have your lower sounds be that loud because then you can't hear the golden harp, but I wanted you to get an idea. I'm going to go to one other pattern so you can hear it. There's an up and down, but you can still hear the holding chords. Hear it? So you can incorporate the golden harp along with your lower sounds and get a very nice background with or without rhythm. We can use the golden harp. A lot of people like to select and elect to use the golden harp when they're not using a music style background. However, on some of the slower backgrounds that we play, the golden harp adds a beautiful touch to it. Any questions? Nothing? You're not making me work very hard today. All right. Well, I'm going to turn. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions that come up, that's a really great reason to see your PA, your personal assistant, in your store and let them help you through identifying these lower sounds. Because, like I said, it is something that we don't speak a whole lot about, and I wouldn't want you to feel confused. So get with your personal assistant if you need some help on it, and start experimenting with some of those tabs or the button that you haven't touched, right? Okay, Robert?
Yes. Is it Joe's turn?
Yes.
Okay. You want me to do something so you don't see you guys switching out stuff? How about I do this? There we go. Hi, everybody. I'm the fill in between so you don't see them changing their equipment. By the way, tomorrow, just a reminder, at 9 a.m. Eastern, or I'm sorry, 11 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Arizona, Dennis All will be our featured clinician. And he's going to be doing that right out of the villages.
Oh.
Yep. So with that said, Mr. Fontesh, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am. If you can hear me,
We can hear you.
can you see me?
We can see you.
Oh, that's too bad. Okay, I'll have to change my look. Okay, I'm going to play something right at the beginning here, and then I'll explain what I did, because so I want you to hear it first, okay? So this is fun, and I have the music up here because this is what you'd be looking at if you had this in your home. So here we go. Thank you. That was Your Cheating Heart. And I did a couple things in that that are very difficult if you don't know how to do it. And if it's difficult, but I'm going to show you how to make it very easy to do. Okay? So here's the first thing we're going to, because I'm talking about transposing and doing it on some of the smaller instruments. It is a problem on the smaller because you don't have buttons. They're in the window. So here's the steps. If you got a pencil, for those of you that have the smaller one that do not have buttons that say transposing down or transposing up, which I'll show you in just a little bit. So here's the first thing I did. I went to Song Setup and I found Your Cheating Heart. That's the first thing. So I selected it. Now, I selected what's in there and I didn't like it. It's kind of like this. Now, what you can do after you do that, if you can actually add a different arrangement. You hear it? It changed. So you can do that first of all. You can actually change song setup. I went over to the performer. Instead of the band, I went and put the piano on, which was kind of honky-tonk piano. Now, here's the problem. If I want to transpose, I can't do it. I got it in here. I have to set that up ahead of time. So here's what you have to do. You go to features. Now, once you set your sounds up, remember, set up the organ first, the song I'm going to play. Then the next step is go to the features and you scroll until you get to the word transpose. That's the step 2. Step 3, select it. And it'll show C and select that. Okay, you got it? So now it is set. So
So
that
Joe,
when I'm,
before you do that, I think I'm going to put some pictures up of what
oh,
you're
yes,
just doing.
please.
So is this the first picture? It says transpose, feature
Correct.
transpose. Okay. And then the next one, it says, if I get the right one up here, let's see, 170.
There should be 3 of them, right?
This one says transpose C, so once you do that, that's what shows up.
Right, and that's
And
what
then
you want
once
to.
you and then once you scroll, it should then show up. In this case, it says C sharp.
Okay, while you're playing, then that's when you hit the scroll button for the change it. So now I'm going to play the song. It's in C, but now I've set it to transpose. In the Windows shows C, and I'm all set to transpose it. So you got to do those steps. One is you go to Features, go to Transpose, select it, and it'll say C. And now you're set up so that when I'm playing, here's how it sounds. Now when I want to transpose, just hit the scroll button. I can do it again. Wow. Okay, so now I'm going to go and bring it back down to C. So let's go through that steps one more. Remember, if you've got the instrument that has transpose in the window and not buttons, which means that you don't have 2 buttons to do it, you have to first select what you're going to play. In this case here, I picked a country song. Okay? Once I have that set, then I go to the features and I scroll, and it'll show me all kinds of different things can do until I get to what says transpose. I just touch select. Now I'm set to play the song, and I can touch scroll up, touch it again, and I can transpose it as many times as I like. But you have to do those steps. You got that? So remember that. First of all, select the song you're going to play. Got it? Number 2, then go to Features. Scroll till you get to the word transpose. Select it, and then you'll see that it will say C. And now you can play the song. And when you're playing, you can go and touch scroll, and it'll automatically change. You got it? That's the steps that you need to enjoy the window with the what we call the virtual orchestra. Any questions on that? So those are for the smaller instruments. If you go to your window and go to Features, see if you've got the word transpose. And if you got the word transpose, that's how you do it. It's never been showed that way before, but that's the only way you can do it, because when you're playing, it's too difficult to scroll, find it, and do it. You can't. It's impossible. You got to set it up ahead of time. Everybody understand? Okay? Now, same thing when you go to another song. Let's see if I went to something by the Beatles. Now I'm going to transpose it. See how easy that was when I had it set up? I just touched it and it automatically goes to the new key. Why do you transpose? Well, transpose makes things exciting to finish the song. Usually transpose the last time you play it. If ever you've heard Frank Sinatra, he always transposed the last chorus. And of course, we just heard Michael Blay's arrangement, and he always does the or transposing at the end, gives it excitement. And you always transpose up. Do not transpose down, okay? Because that's anticlimactic. You want to make it exciting. Okay, I'm going to go to the what we call the symphony over here and do a couple things there and show you the transposing from that entity of the larger models. Okay, I hope you enjoy that on the, and I'm, okay, I'll see you in a few minutes. Now, I sent Robert a sheet on this. This is, can you see me okay? So this has the two buttons that say transpose. One goes up, which is sharp. If you see where it says sharp, that means it goes up. If it says flat, which is the signal for that, that brings it down, okay? Now, there's a song I'm going to play for you, and I transposed it. Actually, in the original, it's transposed 5 times. And so I'm going to see if I can go to it here. And in this song, it's really what makes the song exciting is the fact is that every chorus is a new key. Now, what makes it fun to play, I'll get to it here in a second. There we go. Okay, the song is Mac the Knife. And it's kind of repetitive. In other words, it just keeps repeating. So I'm going to really transpose the song. Oh, you're going to hear it 5 times as I go through each chorus. And each time I do it, you're going to hear this exciting happen with it, okay? So here's the song, Mac the Knife. And again, I'm going to touch the going up on the sharp. I actually transposed that 5 times. So you see, I started it soft, and at each time it made it really easy to transpose each chorus each time. So now there's a trick to transposing, and just remember this. When you're trying to transpose, you always want to hit the transposer on the first count of a measure. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, transpose. 1, 2, 3, 4, transpose. So you don't try to do it any other time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, transpose. 1, 2, 3, 4, transpose. So always count. Now, if you have a problem, you can always add extra measures. I added extra measures because I felt like it. So that's another thing you can do. So when you're playing, this again, so you can do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So each time I'm doing it on the beat. So you always want to do that to make a transposing. Now, that's great in the key of C. The hardest part about teaching, and this is still the hardest thing to teach in our classes, is how to transpose when I'm playing in the key of F or in the key of G or some other key. People get confused when they look at the window. And I think the only way I can explain it is make that C a 0. Make it a 0, which means you're not seeing a key. So if I am playing in the key of F and I want to transpose it down, I hit the transposer once, twice, and that's how, don't even look in the window. Okay, you got it? If it's in the key of G and I want to transpose it maybe up 2 times, don't look in the window, and I'm going to hit it twice going up. But never look at what it says in that window when it's in a different key. Now, there is a chart, which is pretty nice, and if anybody wants the email, and if you don't have it, I'll gladly put it in an email to you, and Robert has it, I think. I sent him a copy of it, and it shows you how to do it in different keys. So I hope you really enjoyed that part of it, okay? The next thing I want to talk about is what we call introductions and endings. You know, everything is perfect at the beginning, and everything can be perfect at the end. Who cares what happens in the middle? Am I right? So if you know how to play an ending and a beginning, you can really sound good. Now, we all know that in some of the organs, we only have 1 introduction. Some of them we have 2 introductions. Usually the first one is longer than the second one, okay? But now, once I get to the end of the song, I push either one for the ending of the song. So ending and beginnings are really cool to give a song and make it sound really good. But sometimes they get a little boring at the end. In other words, if I get to a song and I'm playing a waltz, and here's a nice waltz. Let's go to a nice waltz here. I may want to put a different type of ending in that. So there is a chart that I gave with a bunch of new endings that you can do. So these are all in the key of C. So listen how pretty these are. I'm going to play a waltz for you and watch how it is. If Robert's got the sheet, if not, I will again get to us. This is a sheet of all the different endings that you can add with your finger here. So here's the first one that you're going to hear. Here's the C, and now I'm ended the song in the key of C, and now I'm going to add my other chord, A flat, B flat, and C. See how pretty that sounds? So here's the song. I don't know about you, but I like that, other than just ending on C. So it's pretty cool after you finish the song and introductions. So there's a bunch of them that you can do, and I have a chart with all of them. Here's another cool one. This is, in fact, we're teaching fascination right now. It's all done with your little finger. Just play the chord with the easy. Now, if you like gospel music and country music, this is one that's for the country type of. Another one for gospel and country. So those are another one that I have for country and for gospel music. The one that's the most fancy, and many of our concert artists do it and show it off, and they really, everybody thinks, wow, I wish I can do that. What you're going to do is take your pointer finger, put on the easy chord. Now go down and play every note going down. And then stop at the one you started. Now here's how it sounds in a song. Listen how pretty this is. What do you think? We got an audience here. What do you think? How'd you like that? Isn't that pretty cool? And again, it's only one finger, so you can practice that. Start on C, hit every one. B, B flat, A, go right straight down. And the faster you do it, the better it sounds. How do you like that? Isn't that pretty nice? Okay, so there's a couple other ones. I have a jazz one for you. I have one that is more classically, which is this last one is for classical music. That's done in classical music. And then there's a blues one too that I have. So those are different types of endings that you can do with just one finger, because it's all chords in the left hand. If you're able to add a note in the right hand to match it, that's even better, but you really don't. If you're a beginner, you can just play those. I took a student who had 4 lessons, and I had her do that chromatic ending in this song. You know which one this is? Ode to Joy. She thought she died and went to heaven because she was playing all those chords with one finger. And it was only her 4th lesson, and she was able to do that with just one finger. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you had fun with that, and I've given you some knowledge of some ways. If you want some of this information, I sent it to Robert. We can send it out to you. So again, a quick review. Remember, introductions and endings are most important. Choose that introduction. And also watch out that you can add some extra things when you play the ending of the song. Also, on the smaller instruments, to transpose, you've got to set it up ahead of time. If you do that, then you can hit the transposer. If you've got one that has the two buttons, one that goes up and one goes down, it's much easier to transpose, okay? So if those of you that want to transpose more and don't have that, call Joanie or call me up, and we'll gladly help you out and get you one of those instruments. But I hope you've had a good time. Any questions on anything do I have before I get my last number? I'm going to turn it over to Robert for a minute. Any questions?
Ding and ding. Thank you. Yeah.
Doesn't look like it. Either
Okay,
they,
good.
but
Robert,
they all look musically smarter now. I can tell.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I see the looks on the faces. They all look musically smarter because of that fabulous session. But before, you're going to play a final number here in a minute, right?
You got it right.
Okay. Well, while you're thinking about that, a couple quick announcements. So a lot of folks are probably wondering, how do I get that special handout? because I have it now. I have a copy of that. It's only going to cost you about $40 a person. I've got to profit somehow from Joe's hard work. No, actually, if you'd like to know how to get it, starting this weekend, I am going to, let me just pull it up here. I'm going to show you something. Let's see if I put the right thing here. Okay, here we go. So let me, you've heard it probably a couple times already this week, but starting this weekend, I will have all of our sessions that we have recorded all week long is going to be available on our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Fletcher Music Centers. Okay? And if you can't remember that, and you just go to our website, you click on this little P there, and it automatically brings you to the website, that site. All right? Now, once you get there, it's probably going to prompt you, oops, you can see some of the videos. It may ask you to be a patron or follow us. Okay? Now, this content you're seeing is all available because I'm actually a Patreon member. If you're not, some of these will actually show up on, it'll show that you have to unlock it. Okay? And what'll happen is a lot of the instructors post their notes. Like Joanie will put some her class notes on her how she taught the class. In this case, Dawn did. It might as well be spring intro. She actually in some of her songs she'll actually handwrite the music, the introduction. So you'll see there for you to have. So what'll happen is Joe's class will be in one of them. I'll have that attachment in here, and you can download very easily that information. So it pays to be a patron member on our Patreon page. All right. And then last but not least, just another reminder, tomorrow, Mr. Dennis Awe himself, organist extraordinaire, at 11 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Arizona, is going to be our featured clinician. And we have a very, very, very special announcement to make at that event. And you can't find out until you come to that event. Oh, very special announcement. Top secret stuff. So anyway, with that said, want to thank you very much for attending. Joe's going to close it off with a fun number here, so I'm going to return it back over to Joe. Take it away, Joe.
All right, thanks, Robert. Again, thank you, folks, for all attending. Listen to all the other workshops that we've done. Don't miss, and I mean that, don't miss Dennis Awe tomorrow. It's a classic. He is unbelievable. Greatest showman around today. So do watch that if you can, and it'll be a big surprise. I happened to see the James Bond movie, and I wasn't as impressed because they ruined the original James Bond theme. So I went and I looked up the movie, the original one called Dr. No, and this is the actual original score from Dr. No's, the original James Bond version from that movie, which has now been changed so much. So I hope you enjoy it. It's really quite interesting. Thank you. I hope you enjoy that. And again, thank you all for joining us. It's been a real pleasure.
Good job.
Great.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Very nice.
Lovely.
Bye-bye.
See you in class.
Goodbye.
Wonderful. Great performance.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you very much for all attending. We'll see you all tomorrow, everybody. Big round of applause
Thank you,
again to
Robert.
Mr. Joe Bontenson. Look at arrow.
What time? 9 o'clock?
11.